Hey, I'm Shay Keister, and I'm your host for the Casual Cattle Conversations podcast, the beef producer's place to explore new management practices. Thanks for tuning in, and welcome to the community. Hey folks, it's Shay here, and I am excited to be back for another episode. Today, I am talking with Marty Ropp, who is with Allied Genetic Resources. And so Marty and Allied Genetic Resources, that is a company that offers a multitude of products and services for cattle producers, whether you are a commercial producer, a seed stock producer, there is something that this company can do to help you. And so we will be talking about the different services they provide today. And before we dive into that, I want to let you know that if you are listening to this episode right as it comes out in early October, there is still time for you to register for the Q4 Rancher Mind event. So Rancher Minds are mastermind events for ranchers. So these are Q&A discussions between industry experts and cattle producers such as yourself. And so these conversations in October, November, and December will be entirely focused on business management with the goal of helping you run your business better. So whether it's cleaning up finances, leading meetings, strategic planning, finding alternative revenue sources, or alternative funding options, we're going to talk about it. So head to my website and you can register there, or you can also send me an email and we can figure out what the best option for you is and help you get involved. So the website is in the show notes. That's casualcattleconversations.com. But with that, let's visit with Marty. Well, Marty, it's great to have you on the show today. I know I get to run into you at different conventions and whatnot, but it's always nice to take those faces that I see at conventions and have them on the podcast too. So to get started, would you kind of share with the listeners what your background in the beef industry is so that they get a better idea of who you are and what you've done?
Okay, I can do that, Shay. Matter of fact, I'm going to back up even just a little bit farther. I cut my teeth in this business, in this pig genetics business, starting back in the 70s. And most folks that know me know the story, but got to watch that business change and evolve into something completely different than what we were used to or were comfortable with. And so I jumped to the beef genetics business. I believe it was in January of 98. Actually, December of 98, January of 99, which for those of you that happened to be in the pig business during that time was the worst time in history for the pig business. And so not really on purpose, but fortuitously made my leap into that in 98. Spent 12 years at American Simmental and now almost 14 years managing Allied.
So before we kind of dive into what Allied Genetic Resources does, because you're a big picture thinker, I want to get your perspective on this early. So where do you see the beef industry in 20 years? And actually, some of my favorite people to ask this are the people on the show who have gone from like pigs to beef, because there's always a unique perspective there. So where do you see the industry in 20 years?
I mean, we talk a lot about that. And I even, with the folks that work with me who are all younger than I am, I think the closest one's about, maybe 10 years younger. But we talk a lot about that because it's something that I spent a lot of time thinking about as I was, kind of growing and developing the ideas for Allied, even when I was working with a breed association or prior to that, because everything in agriculture is a long picture window, or at least has been in the past. Families move on to new generations, grow businesses. Some come, some go. But folks that aren't thinking that far ahead probably are doomed to repeat negative things from the past or poor decisions from the past, and ultimately not continue to participate way out into the future. That being said, there's been a lot of predictions. People are always predicting, well, this is going to be in 5 years, everybody will be doing this, or 5 years, everybody will be doing that. And the beef business is one of the most slow industries to evolve in that way. And part of the reason, obviously, is because of the land base and the number of producers and all those kind of things. But as I look 20 years down the road, I'm always, and I've always thought this way, logical things happen. So if you see things that are illogical that are happening, it's because someone's being paid. to, someone's being paid, and that's the reason, at least for the short period of time, that illogical things happen. But in the long term, those things take care of themselves, because illogical systems and illogical um, reasons for doing business, they don't last, because ultimately they go back to fundamentals. And one of the things, as you look out 20 years, there's always going to be important things at the farm and ranch level. The ownership and control of land and how that affects the beef business will always be important. Um, um, Things are going to change, marketing wise, labor wise, systems wise. But the core things, somebody has to raise the cows, somebody has to do the work, somebody has to deliver the product, and the product has to be phenomenal. But for what we're asking for that product today, and what we're hoping to be asked for that product 20 years from now, it has to be exceptional. It cannot become generic crackers. It's got to be an exceptional product to command that kind of premium. So keeping those things in mind, pushing on costs at the ranch level and pushing on value at the end product level. Those are logical things, and I think those are the things we have to keep focused on. And that seems simple, but there's a lot more to it than that.
Well, and as beef producers, we know that there is a lot to that. And as people, sometimes we do like to chase shiny objects too. So it's good to stay centered on what matters most.
I think one other piece, and I've mentioned this a lot of times in presentations and whatever, is that because of the nature of the time component, particularly of a genetics business, but I mean all parts of it too, I suppose, all parts of beef business. But when you buy bulls in 2023, breed cows in 23, have calves in 24, in 2026, the first daughters of those bulls have their first calves, and in 2036, they're 10-year-old cows. And if the bulls breed cows for 5 years or so, like they should on the average, that means like 2041, your 10-year-old cows will be sired by the bulls you purchased this year. And the seed stock business backing up a generation or two behind that just shows the nature of the urgency for making genetic improvement, and that it takes in order to even have an impact 5 or 10 years from now. So I think that's another reason why we look out 10 and 20 years to try to make decisions.
Absolutely. So, you kind of led into that with the importance of genetic improvement a little bit. So, what is Allied Genetic Resources? You said that started 14 years ago.
2010. So this is our 14th year of operations. Um, Allied Genetic Resources was a concept actually I'd been thinking about for many, many years prior to that. But it was a plan to be able to provide greater services all the way down chain, beginning with the building blocks of how we make those improvements. And that is making genetic improvement for traits that are important, and not just fad traits, but traits that are going to affect value and costs long into the future. So we start at the genetic level by providing technologies and support to make maximum or at least optimum genetic improvement for economically important traits. And then because we believe that when you get what you select for, we also know those products are worth more as we move down chain through commercial cattle production, the feedlot and packing and beef business. And so we try to push that farther forward, generating using commitment to help generate income for all segments of the beef business, starting with genetics. And there's only two things that genetic providers offer to their customers. One is hopefully, and necessarily it has to be, they have to offer genetic improvement. The other thing they have to offer is service. And those two, if you think about all the things that your seed stock provider does for you, everything can be lumped into one of those two piles. And so both are necessary, and we help on the service level, but we also help at the technology and genetic improvement level.
So, how did your experience in the swine industry help you start this business in the beef industry?
That's a very core question, because it's the reason I started the business. I started in the pig genetics business in 1974, which dates me pretty close, but I was not very old then. And at that point, the pig genetics business was very traditional. It was farmer to farmer, selling boars, not a lot of technology, a lot of conversation about what a great boar looks like or doesn't look like, big, little, fat, skinny, whatever it was for years and years. And the pig business began to grow. And the traditional seed stock business was not willing to accommodate the changes that were happening in the commercial business. And therefore, because of that, and logically so, almost everyone that I knew and worked with in the pig business and grew up with and believed had magic beans and did things right and were successful. Almost everyone I knew, if they're fortunate, they sold out. If they weren't fortunate, they went bankrupt because they were not going to change. They were not going to adjust. This is the way it was and should be, and that was painful for someone who the people that you were your mentors and people you looked up to,
Mhm.
watching one after another lose their businesses. And so when I moved over to the beef business, I said I'm not interested in that happening because I believe there are adjustments that could have been made through the 80s and 90s to the genetics business that could have at least delayed those changes and help more people be successful longer versus the kind of just uh, brick wall kind of changes that happen in the pig business. And I believe if your customer base and your the people you work with that are profit focused, if you make small changes over time, that's possible. Abrupt changes are difficult, and so Allied was designed to help producers make small changes over time and stay ahead of systems. And that's what we still do today.
So when we look at the pig business, it's much more vertically integrated than the beef business right now. And you're talking about how you're looking at your past experiences with swine and how you don't want to see that in the beef industry. Do you think that the beef industry is a little more safeguarded because we're not as vertically integrated, or what do you kind of what's your take on that?
Yeah, that is the logical question, and I think the answer is that logical things happen. I'll go back to my original statement. The pig business became vertically integrated to reduce cost and increase uniformity and value of product, and increase the size of systems because large systems that are profitable are hard to compete against for small systems that are profitable. And so again, as you look at that, you can design ways to make your business more robust, more competitive. But ultimately, in the end, those that are more profitable will grow, and those that are less profitable will not. And so you have to think from a vertical coordination perspective because your customer matters. And that was one of the fallacies in the pig business was that the people that were raising pigs said, you're going to buy these pigs and sell them as pork regardless of what we do. And systems said, no, we have desires for products that fit our systems and we can make more money with. And so the inability or unwillingness to change ultimately was illogical and caused problems. And in the beef business, I mean, if you don't look around now and see more vertical coordination happening around you, you're not paying much attention. And part of that is because, again, there's a desire from end users for more value, more uniformity, and more coordination to take some of the dollars out of the system that are currently loose and slack. If we're not careful, we can let some of those carrots, some of those value carrots from an income standpoint, cause us issues at the ranch level. But because those are all, I mean, 100% output and no input included in those decisions. But ultimately, the person that writes your check helps make a lot of decisions for you. And so if that's a system, then you become part of that system, or you find someone else to write your check.
So I want to go back to something that you said a question or two ago in one of your answers, and you said that Allied was designed to help producers make small changes because big changes can be hard to overcome and adapt to. So what are some of those small changes that are making a big difference that you're helping producers make? Whether that's through your services or products, but what are some of those small changes you're helping producers with?
Sure. One of the things that we work with, and this is a little more abstract, but a group a group of producers, in this case, one the size of Allied, can begin to interface business at a level that's different than an independent. Even though everyone wants to maintain their independence, and that's an important part of what we do, because again, that change piece that you're talking about, changing as an independent person is more difficult than if you see the people around you making adjustments and you begin to work with them. Because over the number of seed stock cows and bulls in the system, a small change has a large impact. And so those are, I mean, that's kind of the thought process behind it. We offer some precision mating tools now through Dr. Saatchi and Top Genomics that are moving the needle. We encourage value creation all the way back to the genetic side with tools like that, but also the traditional tools. And that's because as we help people market bulls and we help their customers market feeder cattle, the ones that are worth more bring more. And so that positive reinforcement is a simple way to help encourage change. A bigger carrot, you run harder for a bigger carrot versus the old kind of thought process is, these are my customers. They're going to buy seed stock from me forever because it's my brother-in-law. And that process is not going to work anymore. And so we need to, encourage change, encourage more communication between seed stock providers and their commercial customers, encourage a little more coordination in the way the cattle are marketed, feeder cattle are marketed, so that they can take advantage of process and superior genetics. All those are pieces of what we do. We even have a data business that works under us that helps people keep a better track of what they do at the ranch level through data genie. And so we try to do all these different components and put them together in a system that just helps, again, drive positive, sustainable change for the better.
So would you talk a little bit about like the structure of Allied? You alluded to it as you talked about a group of producers, but can you talk a little bit about the structure of the business itself?
Sure. It was created as a member-owned LLC. Again, in 2010, the original business, Allied Genetic Resources. It was about 65 seed stock providers that came in as member owners of that business. Now that number's up closer to 100. But that is the general service business. We do marketing management. We do lots of consulting. We purchase lots of seed stock. The feeder calf marketing business is through there. Dr. Saatchi's genomic products business is through the original Allied business. So that was the core business, and it works. We have Julie Mernon does all of our publishing work. I mean, we even go so far as keeping track of some of the traditional things and trying to do the traditional things better, even as we work on changing things, coming up toward the future. After that, we started the all beef business in response to some of the genetic ownership change pieces that we see across the industry. That is, we own in partnership with seed stock providers. We own superior genetics or own parts of them, so that we can be more involved in the beef business, farther down chain and even farther into the future. That business is stud bulls and donor females to help again encourage maximum genetic progress and also help our producers be able to make those changes while taking a little less risk. Not taking on all the risk it takes to make that kind of increase in speed, but some of it still everybody takes some risk. The third business is Allied Feeding Partners, which is about almost 5 years old now, and we buy feeder cattle from our members owners and feed those cattle and through commercial feed yards and sell them into systems so that we can work farther down chain. And so that we can begin to show benchmarking information. This is what better cattle, better genetics, and better process is worth. And so encouraging to do the right things, encouraging positive change by creating additional markets. And Clint Berry runs the Allied Feeding Partners business, but there's about 16 or 18 owners in that business, including myself. So that's in all told, there's about 100 member owners now between the three businesses. And we're in 24 states. Those owners market about somewhere between 10 and 11,000 bulls a year, and we try to help them tie their businesses together so that it's seen more as a larger, more robust kind of a population and then we try to tie their commercial customers and even industry customers down chain together as a larger group, and help them with customer recruitment and retention because they sell a better product and they offer more services. So that's the business in a nutshell.
So as you're tying these different pieces together, what are your customers seeing? I mean, like what benefits are seed stock producers seeing, and then what benefits are their commercial customers seeing?
Um, and again, that varies a little bit, but I'll tell you that we sell substantially more bulls for substantially more money than what we did at the onset of the business. The average price of commercial bulls at those herds that utilize lots of services, um, including some of the marketing services and all we help their customers with, those customers are enjoying a substantial amount of success, and because of that, I feel like more sustainability long term as they build closer relationships with those customers, and even closer relationships with the customers of those customers as you look down chain. So that's been a real positive piece of what's happened. We continue to grow, continues to be more interest in our business every year, because I think this model of make a better product and then help your customers make more money with that product is that's the only model that's sustainable long term versus, hey, buy my bulls, are the greatest bulls in the world, which I think that model, even though there still some function that way, I don't see much future in that.
So, what was the biggest disconnect you saw between seed stock producers and the commercial producers when they were marketing? Was it that, hey, buy my bull, he's the best bull in the world? Or what did you kind of see there when you first started helping seed stock producers connect with their commercial producers?
There is some of that. And there's a tradition of, um, you know, your 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 mom and dad bought bulls from me, and I expect you to buy bulls from me too. And that built-in tradition that was there for a long time, was really not very. It was a little illogical. If you could get a better product somewhere else and more service somewhere else. So that was one of the disconnects, was that. And I think, again, as these genetic choices come with more service, the opportunity to retain customers is better. And so, I mean, I think it's a logical way to think about it, but it really was not in a lot of cases different than that. I mean, people spent more time trying to decide what breed of cattle to buy than they did, studying the genetic effects of purchasing whatever it was that they purchased, because there's more difference within breed choices or group choices often than there is among the breeds. And so, thinking about things differently, thinking about them as the genetic product you're buying versus maybe the breed of bull that you're buying, those things are crucial. Taking advantage of things that are true. And one of the things that's true is that crossbred cows are substantially worth more and more profitable at the ranch level than straight bred cows, regardless of dogma and advertising. Again, buy my bull because he's the best. If that bull's not providing any helping to provide some heterosis, if you're keeping replacement females, then he's not the best bull in the world for you. Just some of the old givens. It's hard to work through them, but that's the case. We don't buy, for instance, if we sell, I don't know, pick a breed of bulls. If you sell one out of that breed, and someone says, well, I bought that bull because he's this breed. If you didn't have any more to it than that, then that was not a smart decision. It needs to be from a great source, great genetic value, and then from whether it's the producer and or the breed, it has to have enough reputation that you can market those cattle for as much as they're worth.
So, I know with your Right Mate program, you offer some genetic selection tools for seed stock producers. What is available for commercial producers who are on the other end of it and looking to make sound mating decisions to advance their herds? Do you have any services there that you can talk about?
We're working on that. We've actually beta tested that now for a couple of years with commercial herds, and we'll be entering into a relationship with an industry partner that's going to help us deliver that product. A product that'll be called Best Mate. And I'm not sure if I can announce the name of that or not, but we should be seeing that in September, and we're just really, really anxious to get that process started because we've done it at a commercial level and it works. Commercial producers can take advantage of precision mating tools just like seed stock producers can. And the original Right Mate program and Right Choice programs are based on being very, very precise and individual in matings as you'd see at the seed stock level. And again, commercial producers are different than that. They manage cows differently. Sometimes if they utilize AI and things like that, it becomes a precision tool that they can use more like Right Mate. But if we're talking about mating groups of females, whether you sort those groups to better mate the bull, better complement the bulls that you have, or whether you replace those bulls with bulls that better complement your cow herd, which however that is, those tools are going to be available starting in September on a large scale. And we're extremely excited about that because, like I said, it's worked very, very well working with the commercial producers we've already worked with. Just the increase in uniformity by itself is worth the value of the program, let alone the genetic advancement, which we can document that as well. But just by having as few wasted matings as you could have, it really can help push your product forward. And again, just from a uniformity standpoint, let alone the rest of it. The successes through Dr. Sachi's programs they've been fun to document and extremely good. And it's not you hear about some other mating programs that just really utilize them, just simply use a planned mating, which is fine, better than nothing. But when you can add complementary genomics to that, and again avoid those matings that are not going to work, or at least not going to work a high percentage of the time, it just changes the way that you view genetics.
What is a wasted mating for a commercial producer?
Always, and we've used that term before, but it's more a high risk mating. Potentially, maybe the sire and dam have got some large effect genes, whether it's for cavities or growth or carcass traits, that are a problem. They're not, maybe they're heterozygote at a single location for a gene that has a huge effect on birth. And therefore, when you find a mating, you use a bull that's a heterozygote or even a homozygote the wrong way, you have a potential of really creating a problem just in that single gene, let alone all the other possibilities of things that are important. But if the mating should not happen, if that female has maybe again, I'm not sure if the terminology is right, but she's got one copy of a broken gene. You have to make sure that the bull that she's bred to doesn't have a copy of that gene as well, or you have a potential for a problem. And that thought process, as I've been through it now for 5 years with the seed stock mating, it answers so many questions. Why did this work? Why did I use this light birth weight bull and this light birth weight cow and get one that was 117 pounds? Why did that happen? And the answer is that even though most of the genes were very positive for cavities and birth weight on both sides, there was one copy of a gene in there that added 8, 10, 12 pounds of birth weight to that mating. And that was just like, why did I get a horned calf out of two polled parents? Or why did I get a genetic defect, dead calf out of two parents that were perfectly normal? And it's the same reason. Those are just different large effect genes than the quantitative large effect genes that we work with.
So Marty, we talk a lot about the seed stock producers, how you're helping them. Now, from a commercial side, what's your impact on the commercial cow herd today?
Oh, obviously, we try to do things in the old way, where we try to migrate better genetics or more valuable genetics downstream in the commercial business. But we also help commercial cattlemen by helping. We'll market 35,000 head of feeder cattle this year from our members, customers, and some other folks that, again, most of those do Superior, but not all of them. We help put buyers with sellers, even on animals that we're not personally representing. We do a lot of individual consulting with those herds now with Right Mate, Right Choice, and Best Mate. So we connect with those producers. We do quite a little bit of educational programming, and we also kind of as a process, building through the years, looking for options for um, putting like kinds of cattle, like-minded producers into beneficial financial relationships. We estimate that if we sell 11,000 or 10,000 bulls a year, 3 years of running bulls, if those producers purchase half or more of their bulls out of the Allied system, there's somewhere between 1 million and 1.5 million commercial cows that are affected through the Allied genetic system. And if we're able to put together supply chain options that provide greater value for more valuable genetics, which we've got that first part of it done. We think if we could coordinate 10 or 20% of that offering, it would be a pretty valuable product to the industry. And that's always been a thought process too, is that, if you put your money where your mouth is and provide value in quantity, then you can take advantage of that. And we think our commercial customer base has a chance to do that. And they still have the opportunity to take advantage of heterosis and cost savings at the ranch level, but then to be able to take advantage of the growth and carcass genetics and uniformity and value that they've been selecting for years by purchasing Allied genetics, Allied seed stock.
That's a lot of cows, Marty.
It is, but it works out. You figure 10,000 cows a year, or 10,000 bulls a year, there's about 30,000 running bulls. And if each one of those bulls mates 25 cows, that's 750,000 cows. And again, we're not stupid enough to believe that our customers buy all their bulls from us. So if they buy half of them, that's 1.5 million. If they buy 2/3 of them, that's just over 1 million commercial cows that we have some sort of, contact with, and who have some, similarities from a genomic standpoint. And we believe too that better commercial customers from a process standpoint and a selection standpoint are the ones that are buying those better bulls. And we feel like that population is substantially better than average, and we have good documentation, good third-party documentation of that. It's a fun group to work with, challenging, talented, and fun group to work with.
Have you always been interested in genetics, or why did you kind of start down this route as your career path, even in the different industries?
Yes, I've always been interested in genetics, all the way back to when I purchased my first bred gilts in 1973. I've just had fascination with genetics ever since, and went to school for that reason. Got a master's degree and kind of applied genetics because I really wanted to talk to producers about how to manage genetics at the farm and ranch level. And fascinated by the potential for change, fascinated by the potential for improvement. And so I've been in that, in one form or another since I was a kid in 4-H.
Okay, well, I appreciate you talking about that. And I'm gonna circle back to Allied because we went a little bit down a rabbit hole there, an
Yes.
important one, but we're gonna circle back. And you had mentioned that you're working with a different industry partner to help commercial cattle producers. Who are other industry partners that you work with your different products and services?
Um, we try to do things to expand the size of our footprint. And so for instance, we work with all of the major semen companies in one form or another, particularly on the all beef level, but also on the Allied level. Our semen company is run through Origin Beef and Origin Incorporated at just south of Billings. They do all of our distribution and work. Otherwise, we couldn't have a semen company. Most of our feeder cattle marketing, though not all of it, certainly goes through our team that works through Superior. There's Clint, Barry, and Rocky Forsyth kind of manage that team, but there's 5 or 6 reps, and they specialize in marketing cattle based on source of genetics, because we know more about those cattle and their value than the buyers do, and it helps us to better represent those cattle based on being a little more uniform kind of a group. So we do those things. When our sale management team, which is Corey Wilkins and Jared Mernon, they work with providers of all kinds of services, video services, for sales like DV and Superior and live auctions, people like that. They also work with providers to help them with photos and videos and printing and all those kind of things. So, we try to keep that net wide. We work with most of the breed associations, in to some extent, particularly now as we've expanded Right Mate and Right Choice to where we have working relationships with not only Simmental but Red Angus, Gelbvieh, Limousine, Black Hereford, and now a couple more breeds that I think will come on here in the next month or so, to get access to genotypes so that we can make those help producers make those precision matings that they need to be able to make if they want to move forward more quickly. So I don't know. Neogen, we do a huge amount of work with Neogen. They're our genomic service providers, and they've been just terrific at helping us out on that side of things. Their services are extremely professional, and their focus on the future is really good. So anyway, those are some. I know I've left some out, but those are some of the folks that we work with all the time as both as service providers and partners.
So if there's a producer out there listening to this podcast and they're wondering, is this business right for me to get involved in? What questions do they need to be asking themselves before they reach out?
I think that's a fair question. Matter of fact, that was how when I started the business, I designed those questions ahead of time before I talked to the people to see if they were interested. They need to have a 10 or 20-year focus on their business. If they're considering not being in the genetics business 5 years from now, and this being kind of a stopgap, that's not probably not going to work for them as well as it could. Are they committed to the commercial beef business? The idea of their commercial customers being profitable long out into the future and sustainable long out into the future. If that's not their primary focus, then Allied probably isn't perfect for them. We don't just sell bulls. We try to help sell bulls that have immense value to the industry, commercial beef business, and all the way down chain. So those are some things. Are you either capable of working by yourself or with a group to maintain a critical mass that it takes to service a large number of customers, particularly customers again that are focused on selling feeder cattle or retaining ownership or being involved in systems, whatever that is. If those things if that's your core business, then we are interested in visiting with you, whether it's for Allied Feeding Partners or All Beef for Allied, the original parent company. We those are the things we focus on. If you focus on those same things, customer high levels of customer service and for recruitment and retention, then you see eye to eye with us.
So where can people reach out and learn more? Is that on a website? Is there other information I can include in the show notes?
Sure. The easiest way is probably go to the website. It's just alliedgeneticresources.com. And that website is getting a facelift currently, and should be done here before too long. In addition, there'll be an all beef website that's tied to it, linked to it, and so you can find out more information about all beef and Allied Feeding Partners right there on the alliedgeneticresources.com webpage. Obviously, too, I take tens of personal calls a day, sometimes 100, and that's what I do. Sometimes I feel like I have a communications job, as much as anything else. But we'd love to have conversations with folks about the future of the genetics business and how they can participate, because it is not going to be easier; it is going to get tougher. And so, being part of a good team makes sense. Great teams beat great individuals, and we're trying to create the best team that we possibly can.
Why do you say it's going to get tougher?
Because the downstream business that we depend on is getting more coordinated. They're getting more value based. They're asking for more things. And again, the people that write your check ultimately are going to make decisions for you, at least part of your decisions. And they're asking to make more of those decisions. And because of that, participation may not be, again, back to the old thing, it may not be, hey, I've got the best bulls in the world. And you just look at the pictures. They're obviously the best bulls in the world. The beef business long term is not going to respond to that as well as where's their value, where's their commitment, Where is there additional services available? And that's why I think it's going to be tougher. I mean, if you and I don't want to get into a conversation about business sizes, no, but if you don't depend on the beef business as your primary source of livelihood, you can do anything you want for as long as you want. But for those that do, they're going we're gonna have to get better and smarter and faster. Otherwise the competition is going to and will catch up. And we're not interested in that. We're interested in making sure that the independent producers we work with are successful, and that if they choose to, they can be in the beef genetics business for a very, very long time.
All right. Well, Marty, do you have any parting thoughts or anything you'd like to say before we wrap up?
I think you did a good job, and I think I said almost. I think I said I felt like I said the things I needed to say. Again, we're not a top-down business. The individual members make their own choices, do their own things, but we do provide a lot of support and a lot of both technology, consulting, um, support, personal support for decision making. Because sometimes making those decisions is tough without some help saying, "Hey, look at here. When those folks made those decisions, it was positive, and you make those decisions, and it'll be a positive result too." And so even simple things like that are still important within our business. We get together once a year, the people involved in the business, and spend a lot of time on networking and on thought provoking kind of things to where if they're not thinking 10 or 20 years down the road, we try hard to make them to make them consider that in the process. I mean, all of our owners, all of them are fully employed. Uh, they're they're the feed truck driver, the CFO, the sale person, the customer service rep, the bull deliverer, the deacon in the church, the football grandpa, whatever it is that they do, they're fully employed. And asking them to do more is difficult, which is part of the reason why I said it's going to be more difficult moving forward. So having someone that works with you to help provide those things that you either do not have time or expertise for is crucial and will be crucial moving forward. And again, that's the base of our business. You can use us for services that you may not have time or the expertise to handle. And we've got 10 employees now. That's an incredibly talented group of folks. And whatever it is that you need, from whether it's on the genetic side or on the customer service side, we can help access those things, access or outsource anything you need to do, so that again, so that you can stay in business, and if you're interested in the next generation, can continue to do what you do well.
All right, Marty. Well, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks, Shane. Thanks for your time.
And that's a wrap on that one, folks. Thank you for tuning in today and joining in on the conversation. Be sure to take this a step further and take the advice you learned and implement it on your operation. If you want to have a conversation about it, head over to my social media and send me a DM by following @Cattle Convos and connecting with me there. Have a great day.